one young English manager earlier today who managed was Liam Rosenior, right?
Yeah.
Chelsea unfortunately lost to Arsenal. That's 3-3 losses now versus Mikel Arteta. So when it comes down to what we're looking for here, do you think Rosenior will be successful, and do you think he'll be successful at Chelsea?
I think Rosenior's going to be successful at Chelsea. Again, it goes back to that patience with the ball, doesn't it? Because I think if the ball give him that time to install what he wants to get across. I mean, when he started Rosenior, it was just like, again, a new team, wasn't it? It was revolutionised somewhat, like what Carrick's done at United. But now that it's gone a bit edgy, but I really hope Chelsea do stick with him because I think that there is potential in there. He's obviously got a lot of respect from the players already, as it's shown. I saw a video of Cole Palmer in an interview and stuff like that. There's some big names in there, and that we said about egos and stuff like that. But Chelsea's got big names like Palmer, Enzo Fernandez, and so forth. And maybe it's if he can get Chelsea at least the top 5-6 finish this season, that'd be respectable, I think. And then he can build on it because it'd be a chance still, even if it was Europa League football, it's a chance for a commendable trophy to go for. Chelsea, we know, let's face it, do like to dip hands into the market. And if Liam Rosenior can, make his own stamp on things, on what players he wants to stay there, who he wants to let go, and that, it'd be interesting to see what route he goes down on that front. But they've got to give him that time. They can't say, well, okay, we've not finished in the top 4, off you go, because he's not had enough time to put his own stamp on things.
And I think that's an article which I saw released a couple of weeks ago. I think it was, unless he finishes top 4 and then qualifies for Europe, and then maybe has a run in his current form right now in terms of another cup competition, they were going to potentially sack Rosenior by the end of the year, right? I thought, what a load of nonsense that would be if that was to actually happen.
It would just be, because then you're getting another new manager in. Again, it could be that he makes his own stamp on the transfer summer market, but then equally, be for new manager bounce again, 4, maybe 5 wins in a row. Okay, they could be near to the top to start with the league for new season, but then when it goes a bit stale after the honeymoon period ends, which it does with all managers, let's face it. From with Carrick at the moment, it looks like he's like Prince Charming riding into the sunset. It's going to end at some point, isn't it? So, but I really, again, what do Chelsea do? Do they just, as you say, get rid of him, nonsense, and then they recycle and put someone new in again? That just, if you was a player, if that was me as a player in that dressing room, it'd be like, I'm starting to click what this manager's demanding of me, and then getting used to his methods. And then it's like the same with Spurs. They're in that tricky situation because if they stay up but they decide not to go with Tudor, it'd be like 3 managers in the space of a year, 3 different methods, 3 different mentalities probably in football. That would confuse the hell out of you if you're a player. Because 1 minute you're expected up here and then the next minute you're probably in the middle ground. Where do you stand?
And then if you're a club like that, you start to lose your kind of infrastructure and confidence of the fans and lose, the approach which you have towards things, because you might drop into, Nottingham Forest territory where you're starting to be considered a club where you make rash decisions and change managers just on a whim because the results haven't gone your way. And that's potential that, that you need to try and overcome, and try not to be a manager which falls into that bracket as well at the same time. But as a club, for what you're trying to achieve, you don't want to keep constantly changing, especially if it requires the players to change that, then you have to adapt. And then there's that argument, well, actually, you didn't bring in players, you haven't invested. Then it puts pressure on you as a board as well. So I think there's some of the interesting perspectives from a managerial to a squad capacity to the club infrastructure, which are really interesting. But Liam Rosenior is a bit like a Graham Potter in the sense of I followed him since Derby. I think he's a good manager. I really want him to do well, especially being a Chelsea fan now. But I really hope he doesn't become Graham Potter in a sense where the move has perhaps come too soon, right? Where we see, and the same you can argue with Lampard, where we've gone for two young English managers previously. Lampard, came up from Derby himself, and again had a good run at that time, but it didn't work out for him. But there was a lot of different context there. But was sacked in the end, and then you have Graham Potter, didn't work out at Chelsea, but again came from Brighton, stepped up, and then he sort of ended up at West Ham lurking around and didn't work out now, and then he's with the Swedish national team now. But it's one of those where you don't want Rosenior to end up on that scrap people pile because he got sacked from Chelsea and to lose that potential which he has just because the big job didn't work out. And so Lamps has had to try and rebuild himself. He went to Everton, perhaps didn't quite work out, but still there is a level of good job which he achieved there. He went back to Chelsea. It unfortunately didn't work out whatsoever on that caretaker return, and now he's at Coventry. So it's nice to see Lampard rebuilding, but I just hope Rosenior doesn't end up in the same bracket where he could end up struggling because he got sacked by the job, because perhaps it was too quickly or too soon, or he hadn't been given enough time in that job because of the demand surrounding it,
I think you've hit nail on the head there. And